this. And this is a book that's coming out next month, which I worked with a collective of people from all across the country. And does anybody remember what this was? In Portersville Prairie, they stopped the train for a couple hours. And it made the wide-scale news. And on the train line, it's hard to see. How did they stop that train? They did it through love. And they did it through opportunity. And they did it through song. And they did it through the creation of a community and the reminder of this country that we can be more than that. We can be more than what we have accepted. Because what we have become are two paths. Two paths in this country. The first path very much looks like this. And the second path looks like this. And for now 150 years we have been traveling in two different paths. And every once in a while one path will take precedence, and the other path will then take continual precedence over and over again. Because for 150 years, starting with the Royal Proclamation in 1763, where King George III declared, "Everything I see belongs to me." In 1763, after defeating the French in the French-Indian War, King George III declared that everything he sees belongs to him. Oh, okay. Go ahead, yeah. So apparently the Volkswagen needs to.
Okay, Volkswagen, guys, you're killing me, please. GTD 272 is your license plate. Last chance before the tow truck comes, homies. Come on. GTD 272 is your license plate.
Okay, move the license plate. Oh, move the car. Now, okay, so the Royal Proclamation, 1763 it begins a process, King George III, where he says, "Everything I see belongs to me." And that Indians may live in those territories, but they can sell that land openly and freely only to me. And when they can sell that, when I get there, they will then take that, I will then take that land, and I will give them little plots, I will give them little reserves. But only in relation to me. I will declare how they will live, I will declare where they will go, and I will declare how they relate to me. And in 1763, that started a process. Soon enough, that became the British North America Act. The British North America Act is what creates Canada. And the British North America Act, Section 91-24, says that all Indians become wards. So all status Indians become wards of Canada. They are then taken care of amongst the only group in the country. They are then under the control of Canada. The Department of Indian Affairs is then set up, and soon enough the Indian Act is set up, which controls every aspect of our lives, from birth to death, and even after death. Every part of this, which dictates who we can be with to continue to have status Indians. Every part of our life, down to the controlling of our dress. And pretty soon there's Indian agents sent to our communities. And there's things like a pass system, and that's a passbook right there, and which could say when we could leave. And then after that, the Indian agent says what you can wear. And then after that, finally, they take our children. And when they take our children, they put them in those schools, so far away from who we are, and they teach them that other language, that other way of thinking. And then finally, they also go down the road and they teach all of those other Canadian children that all of those children in the school down the road come from savage communities. Every single part of the Royal Proclamation, which started in 1763, and I don't have to tell this group how this relationship was one of control, one of violence, one of abuse, and very much looks like this. I will control you, I will tell you how to dress, I will tell you how to live, I will control your movement, I will then I will take your children, and I will teach your children that you're wrong. And then I will teach everyone else that those children are wrong. And I will teach everyone else that you are wrong too. Till every single part of the country is built as a designed part of controlling you. And what does that really look like? Well, it looks like in my community. In my community in 1907, I lived in a place called St. Peter's. And now in 1907, due to the Government of Canada, Province of Manitoba, Town of Selkirk, which is just near Selkirk, and some unscrupulous land settlers, they saw upon us. And Chief Peguis, and I'm going to talk about Chief Peguis in just a minute, but Chief Peguis made some really strategic decisions in the 19th century to help us become farmers. And we were so successful, in fact, that we were better than any other farmers in this area. We were so successful that we became very economically well off, but there was a beautiful, rich agricultural land that people wanted. And soon enough, the governments and all of that group I mentioned earlier collaborated to hold a vote. And they announced that they would hold a vote. Soon enough, on one day, they showed up in our community to hold a vote. But our savvy leadership collected all of the voters together. In those days, only the men could vote. And they set them up, and they knew, the government prospectors, when they were going to announce that vote, that the vote was going to fail. So they took days, and they went to individuals' houses, and they bribed them with whiskey, and they promised them jobs, and they promised the chief money. Until finally, days after, when there was no one around for a vote to be held, they simply announced that the vote would be held right there. And they put a little rope on the ground. And on one side they announced in Cree, anyone who wants $90 stand on that side of the rope. Anyone who doesn't want $90 stand on that side of the rope. And that was the only word said in the language. And soon enough, a vote was held where 123 stood on one side, 97 stood on the other. And no record was kept of who voted. No record. They don't even know who was there. It was never recorded. And soon enough, we were forced to move to what's now Peguis First Nation. But some of our families stayed. Many of our families moved across the river, living near St. Peter's Indian Hospital. And we lived there our whole lives, and that's where I grew up. I grew up in Selkirk. My family lived near that hospital until finally moving into town. And that's the legacy that I lived in. Do you know what that is? That's Bill C-45. That's what it is. Bill C-45 is the removal of First Nations lands for the purposes of economic progress. It's happening again. What happened to my community can happen to any community for the removal and the building of what? A pipeline. This pipeline, they're invested in, the aggressive federal government is invested in a very aggressive energy policy right now. And that Northern Gateway pipeline, which is proposed, needs these two things: the removal of the protection of water and the removal of First Nations territory. And the sooner that it can be built, the better. And according to Prime Minister Harper, no is not an answer. And that's unfortunate, because when no is no longer an answer, I'm going to show you what the response to that looks like.